Mask on, mask off. Very Eastern, transcendental in orientation, don't you think? One of the great existential questions, or simply stated, one of the big answers that we cannot determine until the moment that we die, besides those fascinating topics that sometimes feel the paranormal regarding life beyond this life, final judgment, existence of a heaven and hell, and even angels that guide our way, is the purpose of our own lives. And on this point, particularly as a rational person who believes in science, I'm always fascinated that this is a topic at all for a mass of cells, tissue, and firing neurons. Simple biological processes, which, if you think about it in the strictest of terms of the natural sciences of biology, chemistry, and physics, to use the Reverend Jesse Jackson phrase from his appearance on Saturday Night Live, the question is moot. The only purpose of cells, tissue, of firing neurons is their assigned jobs until such time as they cannot perform that vital function of displaying vital signs of a person engaged in public health, be able to measure with a stethoscope or check for breathing when a first responder or some other person discovers your dead carcass unresponsive. Pronounced dead on arrival. For you, soldier, the game is over. Only two types of soldiers on the battlefield: the quick and the dead, if you're a scientist. It is what it is, and you were what you were. And you don't even have to worry, because for you, life has, and sentient thought has departed permanently from the land of the living. You get no bonus round, you don't reincarnate, you don't attain nirvana. The curtain has closed after your final damn performance. The audience has departed the theater, and your chance to be that bit player strutting and fretting your hour upon the stage shall be heard no more. Your tale told by an idiot is over. But some people can't deal with that thought and attempt in their heads to imagine some escape. And all that I can say to you in Christian love is make like an ice princess and let it go. Period. But if life is over, and say you are that Albert Camus existentialist character of The Stranger, flash effect and just living for the moment, trying to make the most of every moment of your life, carpe diem, a pandemic imposing restrictions on what you can do is like going to a theme park that was announced on TV, having it rain, or finding that great attraction that you wanted to enjoy closed for repairs. And with all those people that I always see in online dating, especially who describe themselves as spiritual but not religious, and will tell you that they're Briggs-Myers type, like they used to offer astrology signs in the former age, and looking for chemistry, pretending to be scientists. I was a little surprised not to find a long line at the courts of people trying to be like the Zen surfer dude in Point Break, trying to catch a ride on the biggest kahuna wave for litigation that has ever occurred and that will ever occur in your lifetime, especially on constitutional issues. And how do I know? Because in my best former CIA Deputy Director Michael J. Morrell voice, I was there. And now, after over a year, I am the only one to make it this far, with a petition for certiorari before the highest court in the land on the issue of facial coverings mandates. So for the next few moments, let's just delve into what that is all about. First of all, we may need to provide a little lesson in civics, because if you say that something is taking away your precious liberty, while it may be cathartic to post on social media your various thoughts and opinions, remember that scene in the great movie with Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett, and several others about some hardcore gangster sisters out in South Central LA who decided to set it off and become bank robbers when she developed a mental complex of life-changing order after being asked a simple question at her job as a bank teller: what's the procedure? And wrestling with that simple question certainly altered her life trajectory. But if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it and the end for you. But let's just say understanding procedure is very important. Or you may find yourself riding that big Kahuna wave, having no idea that you're even surfing, just waiting to wake up surprised while everybody else on the beach gets to become captivated, gawking at your big train wreck. Kind of like that guy in the back seat who didn't take it, now changed his mind. Hell, your damned body and your damned choice. And if you are a scientist, like many say they are today, all vaccinated and masking up for an extra layer of protection, this damned body and damned choice provides a convenient segue to a fellow by the name of Charles Darwin, who, like famous British persons in the past, even was elected as a fellow to the Royal Society of London, a pinnacle marker for others like Sir Isaac Newton, who in 1859 had published his paradigm-shifting work that had become the focus of the famous Scopes monkey trial in Dayton, Ohio, State of Tennessee versus science teacher Thomas Scopes in 1924. But also turning his Malthusian nature regarding population increase to more focused topics of human evolution and sexual selection in his great work, The Descent of Man, published in 1871, just 1 year after Robert Koch, the discoverer of tuberculosis in 1832, had turned his discerning mind towards epidemiology and causation of disease to the development of what we know today as Koch's postulates, something not yet completed on a pandemic pathogen for whatever reason. So while our Bible thumpers certainly, and folks who never went to college are probably lost in obfuscation, at least for those amongst the intelligentsia, all of this elevated discourse through Darwin's development of an idea regarding natural selection should be mere rudimentary review of that which we already know. We are in our echo chamber. And intriguingly, in our litigation now before the United States Supreme Court, we have found the illustrious Royal Society of London making a contribution to the body of knowledge, even finding itself the topic of an article about non-medical grade facial coverings, albeit now deleted, in the prestigious New York Times, and ironically terminated from existence by a decision made in an editorial discretion that perhaps the Royal Society had made the wrong choice if they had decided to grace the pages forever of that national publication of great reputation. Did I mention that we have another case on a celebration of sexual preferences that are not in conformity with the Malthusian ideals of Charles Darwin and the propagation of the species? A truly exciting time to be living, at least for this ignorant, Bible-thumping evangelical Christian. So now that in natural selection you have decided, say, hypothetically, you have decided not to post on social media in a pandemic crisis, or like Lindsay Seymour, rock star environmental engineer at VTech, become an interview celebrity during a public health crisis where people are dying, or take to the streets and march in protest like many did. And you find yourself properly and rationally in a courtroom, having filed a case. What happens from there before you arrive at the United States Supreme Court, as we have alone? Like a gentleman from Cambridge, handing Jacobson, a Swedish immigrant, in his battle against the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a case about mandatory smallpox vaccination that has become the focus of the current debate, but about which many persons who at least describe themselves in press as legal scholars had justified even the mandates for non-medical grade facial coverings as their authority, a case that also framed the basis for a decision by the United States Supreme Court earlier and penned by the Venerable Justice Louis Brandeis in a matter involving what had been described as a feeble-minded white woman in Amherst County, Virginia, who had believed that it was her body and her choice, while the Commonwealth of Virginia had other ideas about the use of precious government resources that would have to pay for the consequences of her entitlement to sexual pleasure, and in public health policy, including exercise of her duty, by exercise of the police power, decided that 3 generations of imbeciles was enough. That's a quote. Ordering the sterilization of that independent woman. Education is perhaps the most important function of state and local government. Another Supreme Court case, quote. Can I get an amen from the secular church and Planned Parenthood for this Malthusian application of Jacobson? Choices, sadly, sometimes always have consequences. And as Little Joe, played by Eddie Rochester, hey, Mr. Benny Anderson, in the Vincent Minnelli All-Star musical adaptation of a Faustian theme, Cabin in the Sky, featuring Lena Horne in 1943, when she also made her grand appearance in another film produced by another studio, Stormy Weather, had reminded us that old devil consequences get you every time. Another victim of natural selection and failure to adapt an appropriate gain of function directed towards propagation and survival of the species, especially your particular species, a lesson apparently well understood by a single strand of ribonucleic acid that has been reported to have evolved from a zoonotic origin. Multiple, increasingly more virulent and transmissible strains with no more brain power than the Scarecrow and the Wizard of Oz, who mindlessly followed Dorothy and Toto on the yellow brick road to obtain his diploma to achieve his last reward. And he's kicking your butt. But enough of that. In the next installment of this series, we can begin to develop further how a matter proceeds from the filing of a case in the court through the appellate process to reach the highest court, the land where we are, just as other famous cases like Marbury v. Madison, Brown v. Board of Education, and even Obergefell v. Hodges have done before us. As Galileo Galilei once said, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Live long and prosper, star voyagers. This briefing is unclassified. As you will, my name is Major Mike Webb, and by God, I am running for Arlington Public School Board. Let's keep Mike Webb away from our schools. Carry on. Honest. This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.
I used to be a Power Ranger in a former life.
Thunk, I could have had a vaccine.